preserved my youth. Not only did it capture my goals, it told me the truth.
Conversate for a few, cause it a few.
I let them know we missing you. The love is unconditional.
Wave your hands across the land if we family.
We got a world premiere right here, now get lost.
So off we go, let the trumpets blow. And hold on, because the driver of the mission is a pro.
All right, another episode of Conversate with Us Radio. Conversate stands for communicate, converse, and relate. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Conversate with Us. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Share the show. We got a good one for you today. Today is Monday, so we're going to have a little bit of Mantalk Monday, discussing some hip-hop. So I got a few brothers I respect immensely. Going to bring them on the show. Brothers, come on in. All right, so out of Philly, we got Brother Joe representing. Joe, say what up, man.
Hey, how's everybody doing? What's good?
All right. Then out of NYC, we got my brother, good Alpha Man, Sean Gale. Sean, what's up with you, man?
What's good, bro?
It's all good, man. And then from my Man Listen show, from the Man Listen show, my boy, my brother, Lav. Lav, what up with you, man?
What's good? What's good? I'm good, man.
It's all good. But man, listen, man, hip-hop is something that brothers always discuss. And I'll be honest with you, man, there's been some good music being put out here this year, man. I can't front, man. I know we all in our 40s and 50s or whatever, but some of these younger brothers like the Migos, that Quavo and Takeoff, rest in peace of Takeoff, man, they put out a good piece of music, man. I'm a Jeezy fan, you know, I like trap music, so Jeezy put out something good, but my guy, my favorite rapper, y'all often hear me and Lab discuss, debate, you know, Nas versus Jay-Z on the Man Listen show. My guy put out King's Disease 3, and I got to tell you, in my personal opinion, it's a classic. It's a classic. So I wanted my brothers to come on to give their opinions about this album that Nas just put out, and where does it put them? Who do you have ranked as your GOAT in hip hop, and is Nas the GOAT in your personal opinion? So Joe, we're gonna start with you, bro. Since you go ahead, bro.
So first of all, that Nas he just put out is an absolute classic. That is almost straight through, no skips, classic CD. No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Yeah.
Where that puts him, it doesn't change his ranking because he's still behind Jay. He's still behind Jay, even though this is really a classic, and everybody should listen to it. He's still behind Jay, and that's where I fall.
Okay, so let me do this. We're gonna take a couple steps back.
Okay.
How do you define your personal definition? How do you define who's the best? Who's the GOAT? How do you define it? Is it off of number of classic albums? Is it off stage presence? Is it off albums sold? How do you define it?
I define it off of
wordplay. There's wordplay in there.
Well, consistency, album sold, definitely wordplay, and impact on hip hop as a culture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's how I define it.
All right.
So you can have some really, really dope artists that come out with some good albums, but if they don't have any impact on the culture, they can't be considered in that conversation, in my opinion.
Okay. Sean, Brett, what's up, man? What you think, bro? What you think about King's Disease 3? It is now's the GOAT.
So when I first heard King's Disease 3, I heard it, I guess, a few minutes after it was released. And you have to understand something. I bang for Brooklyn, all right? So I'm always going to be on the side of Brooklyn when it comes to anything. So one of the challenges I faced was, you know, I really, really, really like Nas, but I had to think about what his impact is going to be on the world, considering he's not from Brooklyn. Okay, so pushing that aside, I was thoroughly impressed. Not because I didn't think Nas could do it. I mean, don't forget, there's only two knocks on Nas's career that prevents him from being the GOAT. Only two. Number one, his beat selection. his beat selection has been questionable from day one. Every time he's got some great thing from Large Professor, or he's got some great track from Pete Rock or whoever, he's got like tons and tons of terrible filler stuff that is just ridiculous, which is sad because some of the best rhymes he ever says, especially on stuff like that joint that he did, oh my goodness, Life is Good. Do y'all remember that album?
I like Life is Good.
Oh,
I did
Life is
too.
Good was a dope album.
Right, yeah.
the lyrics, in my opinion, is arguably his best album, arguably. But the problem was his beats on the album were just kind of That happens over and over again in his career. So the one problem he has is he has subpar beats. Yo, Hit Boy, I knew nothing about Hit Boy before this album. I didn't pay much attention to him. I'm 50-some years old. And again, I bang for Brooklyn. But Hit Boy came through
And Hit Boy's
really
an LA dude.
underneath Nas.
Hit Boy's an LA dude. He's a West Coast dude.
Yo, he's the truth. I'm not gonna lie to you. He is incredible. It's been about 20 years since I stopped being New York biased, where anything west of Philly or south of Jersey was whack. So I don't have that problem anymore. But Hit Boy's on another level. I'm shocked by him. So at least the beats are great in this album. And then number two was something we just heard a second ago. His impact on hip hop. We're not talking, because don't forget, hip hop is about the four elements. But in addition to the four elements, it's also about impact beyond where you're from. And Nas has mythical status here in New York City. I'm not going to lie to you. But the problem is outside of New York. Are you really going to get the party started by throwing on some Nas? Nah. Are you going to get the party started by throwing on some Jay? Yeah. And let's be clear. Who got to the Billy first? And that is a factor. Now, he's made some questionable decisions in his career, especially questionable decisions behind the microphone. The stuff he's doing in the NFL, the stuff that he's been doing even with Def Jam. Sometimes people need to stay in their lane. And some of that stuff Jay does is terrible. But for the most part, I think it's unquestionable. That being said, King's Disease 3 is one of the best albums of all time. I don't care what nobody says.
I shudder to see what Lav gonna say, because I already know he a Jay-Z stan like Joe. But hey, before I go to Lav though, Sean, you from Brooklyn?
I was born actually in Teaneck, New Jersey. Well, this might be too much information. I was actually I was conceived in Brooklyn. My parents actually met in Brooklyn.
I know your parents. They like, why you telling all our business? But go ahead.
My parents, God bless their souls, are not here, but they actually met in Brooklyn. My father's from Harlem. My mother's from Panama. They met and lived in Brooklyn. They moved us to Jersey when I was before I was born. Just a quick note, since you brought it up, I'm from Teaneck, New Jersey. Teaneck, New Jersey is the first town in the entire United States to voluntarily desegregate after Brown versus Board of Ed. If you remember, in Brown versus Board of Ed, there was this comment in the decision which says the schools in the United States should desegregate with all deliberate speed, which was code for we're not going to enforce it. You do it if you want. And of course, nobody did. So finally, after a couple of years, Teaneck was like, forget it. We're going to be the first ones. So they're the first town in the entire country to voluntarily desegregate. So cats from New York and around Philly and especially upstate New York, Mount Vernon, they were like, wait a minute. Looks like there's a new lifestyle happening there. So people flooded from all over to be able to live there. My parents thought it was a good idea to be able to raise myself and later my sister in this town, which had a bright new future. So that's where I was raised. But it's Teaneck, New Jersey is literally closer to downtown Manhattan than Brooklyn, than Queens, than the Bronx. Then the only thing is maybe Uptown is not as close. So I really call out Brooklyn because of where my parents are from, and I own property there now. So, and both of my kids, two of my three kids were born there, and I still pay taxes there. So Brooklyn.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're perpetrating, but since you got kids there and you own property there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's where my bills go. So forget all that. But no, exactly. I was raised in Teaneck, New Jersey. And I'm proud.
I got you. And shout out to Brown versus Board. I'm from Topeka, and Linda Brown was my
I know. That's why I threw it out there.
Yeah, Linda Brown was my best friend's auntie. So shout out to Topeka. The Lav. King's Disease 3.
King's Disease 3. Yeah, no, that was, it's a nice album. It's undoubtedly one of the top albums that came out this year from what I've listened to. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of hesitate on putting it a classic status. But it's because there's other Nas albums that are ahead of it. And then you could you can flood. When I say classic, it has to be classic. You know what I mean? So if it's his third best album, then I'm not gonna say it's a classic. That's just me. But other people can, I have a very limited number of classic albums. As far as the GOAT conversation goes, I like to equate it to basketball. So I say this: Jordan is the GOAT, hands down, right? But I think there are other players who were more skilled all around. It's just the impact that he had and the timing that he had mixed with the skills that he had. That's what makes him the GOAT. But as if you call it basketball purist or a hip hop purist, Nas is right up there with a lot of people. And I mean, when it comes to just pure hip hop, I mean, I think of cats like Black Thought. I hear him every time, and I'm like, this dude, oh my God, this dude is ridiculous, but he's never even in the conversation because, like we say, when we talk about GOAT, so much other stuff is involved. It's your impact on culture.
Right.
It's quite honestly your ability to cross over too, because like you said, outside of New York and hip hop heads, Nas ain't, people ain't listening to him at the party, but I guarantee you probably can go to Montana right now and somewhere on college campus in Montana, not even a college campus, they're going to be bumping a Jay-Z song somewhere in the rotation. So that's what kind of sets him apart for me. Yeah, I'm a Jay guy. I first time I heard Jay was one of my boys had moved to Kansas City, man, in high school. And he was from, I want to say Patterson, New Jersey. Yeah, Patterson, I think.
Yeah.
And he put me on the Fat Joe back then, man. And and then when Jay was bubbling before his album came out, he's like, man, this cat Jay. And so once I heard it, I was like, man, that's my favorite rapper. And that was before Pac passed, before Big passed. I just like Jay. I always have, and he's always gonna be my favorite.
So a couple things. I like Joe's definition of GOAT status. I would also add stage presence to that. Stage presence to that equation. I think another cat you talked about, Black Thought, another dude that slept on majorly is Yasin Bey, Mos Def. People often sleep on him. My first exposure to like Jay-Z, Biggie, and Nas, my big brothers, they exposed me to a lot of hip hop. They had a homeboy that was from Boston, and Sean, you'll recognize his name. Our homeboy Greg from Boston came in with a mixtape, a Ron G mixtape. And Ron G, he had Waterbed and he had Biggie, Autumn Cash Flowing when they was like young dudes still trying to get put on. This had to be like 93, 94?
Yep.
93, 94, something like that. Because like Big, like when did Big pop? Like 94, 95?
Big Pop 94. Flavor in the Air was 94.
Yeah, 94, 95, right?
New York knew about 93, but 94 Party and Bullshit, and then Flavor in the Air, that's when
Yeah, so that's when that was popping, man. So that was my first exposure. I mean, I put Nas as the GOAT. I think had Biggie's life not been cut short, I think that he probably could have the trajectory he was on, the skills, the wordplay that he had, the charisma that he had, he definitely would be in this discussion. I mean, clearly, Jay keeps biting his rhymes, so he had to be great. Y'all can't dispute that. And then I also think Big L might be there too. I think Big L might be in the discussion too. But I put Nas there, man, because I think if you go for consistency, like Joe said, yes, Nas 48, Jay's probably in his early 50s.
Yeah.
Last album Jay put out, 2017? He's had a couple of features. And honestly, I think those features, like especially this last one he put on Collins' album, it don't really seem like he was too motivated when he was doing it. I think he's putting stuff out there and cast just like, oh, he just dropped a great rhyme. Like, come on, bro. I didn't see Jay do much better work. You know, I think his absence is making people, you know, say, oh, this is just, you know, whatever. And I think people overhyping it. This last 4-album run that Nas has had with Hit Boy, with King Disease 1, King Disease 2, the Magic album, and King Disease 3. He's been putting out 4. I get two of those 4, I put them at classic levels. You know, remember back when the Source used to have 5 mics? I would give 3. I would get King Disease 3, and Joe gonna get mad. I get King Disease 2.
I was about to say
5 mics. I get, and Joe says King Disease 2 was trash, which I don't understand, man. I don't understand how you can say that, bro.
All right, so King Disease 2 was trash to me simply because it didn't. I literally can't think of anything off of that album, like right off the top off that album. I can't think of a song off of that album. You
can't think of the Lauryn Hill joint when he brought Lauryn back?
Yeah.
Huh?
The Lauryn Hill joint?
Somebody say something, I'll be like, oh yeah. But off the top, for it to be Nas, who I know it seems like I hate on Nas, and I don't. I really don't. But for Nas to be as talented as he is, he should have been consistently putting out banger after banger after banger. And again, this one he just put out is honestly just a straight banger almost all the way through. You cannot say that about King Disease 2. You can't say it. And that's just being honest.
I gotta respectfully disagree with you. Now, King Disease 1, it was a dope album, but I think he had too many features on it. I like the J. Cole approach where you like very minimal features and you just going for what you know. And you really kind of saw that on 2, you know, Magic, and really on 3. I don't think 3 had any features, if I'm mistaken. I think if you look at their careers and number of classic albums, Nas has more classics than Jay does.
I don't know about that.
Again, classic is. I mean, it depends on who you ask.
So since I'm the Nas fan, I'll go ahead and list them. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Illmatic, classic.
Yes.
Stillmatic, classic. Godson, I can say to me that's a classic, but I'm a Nas fan, so I understand people will say, nah, okay, you got It Was Written.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you got King Disease 3. So that's 4.5 right there. What's Jay got? Reasonable Doubt.
Again, I can't tell you.
Reasonable Doubt. Blueprint.
Nobody has 5 classic albums, dog. Like
Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint, and the Black Album. That's it.
What?
That's it.
Oh, bro.
That's it.
I'm trying to be as balanced as I can because I don't want to overjade you because, you know, obviously got 3 on 1 here, but
yeah.
Hey, that's normal, bro. Go for broke. That's normal.
Hold on a second. How many summers in a row did Jay keep the party going? He damn near went through 20 summers in a row.
Man.
Where there was always something. And let's just start backwards. Let's start with what he did on God Did. That verse, I'm going to put a link in the chat for other people to get up. That verse was so deep with all the stuff he's talking about. Just even with the stuff when he was talking about with Farrakhan and Mike Wallace, you know, I think you should just keep quiet. Yo, he pulled stuff out that people are still trying to unravel. Did you know who Ari Melber is? Yeah. Ari Melber, the lawyer MSNBC at 6 p.m. Who's got he does all the hip hop references or whatever. Yeah. Some of the stuff he does is really overbearing. But one reason why I like watching him is because every once in a while he'll pull somebody from off the top ropes and really bring up some real hip hop history. This dude dedicated a whole segment, a whole block, to dissecting Jay's verse on God Did. You got to hear it. It's the best thing he ever did. Did you hear that, Joey?
I saw it.
I didn't see that.
Yo, you gotta see it. It's unbelievable. Like just knowing and listening and obviously being students of hip hop, you'll hear it and you'll be like, okay, we knew all that. But just watching the way he dissected it and broke it down and brought the politics, the finance, the economics, the racism, the male-female relationships, just all this stuff together in a verse that I agree he half-assed, bro. I mean, he is absolutely positively at least the GOAT that is alive. Now, I just want to say one more thing before I back down, because you brought up something that was almost sacrilegious. You said something about Big. Slow down. Big, I agree, his life was cut short, but if you look at the density of what he was able to produce and listen to some of that stuff, I mean, he has some pretty questionable lyrics, very questionable lyrics, some sus lyrics actually in a lot of instances.
It ain't even sus. It ain't even sus. It's all the way, dog. Yeah, it's all.
Bro, every album had at least 1 or 2 pauses on it.
Yeah, it's all.
Good news is that the other stuff that he had was just unbelievable. And Lav, I think you were the one that said it best. He obviously is good because he keeps getting bitten by Jay. If we say Jay's the best, then who's the guy he's learning from? Whose foot is he sitting at? Just lastly, Nas has a terrible track record for albums. He doesn't put out good albums. He never has. And that's why King's Disease was so shocking.
Come on, man.
Had more than 3 albums?
4 albums in 10 years. I can divide.
Yes.
What?
Come on.
Smart Enough, Nas.
But
Yo, they created a whole website called Smart Enough, Nas.
conVersate speech. What does Jay put out there? It's like consistent albums. Like
Okay, so I'm looking at
I put it out there. I gave y'all.
I'm looking at it right now.
Blueprint and the Black Album.
Hold. You're forgetting a couple here. Reasonable, Blueprint.
No doubt.
Blueprint 2.
Blueprint 2.
Blueprint 2
was trash.
In fact,
Blueprint 2 was trash.
Blueprint. No, you said something really wise. Now I got to bring up something that happened to me when there were 2 albums that came out that told me just how big the reach of hip hop was after it left the West Coast and come out from the South. The beginning of the 2000s, it was 50 Cent and it was Jay. I was traveling, I was in a dance company called Step Africa, and we were touring around the middle of the country, Iowa, South Dakota. We were in some backward ass places trying to do dance shows for this African stuff. And every time we would travel somewhere, we would have to go to like a mall or something to get some food. The biggest artists that would show up in these extremely white areas were 50 Cent and Jay. And arguably, it was between those 2 albums. It was between Get Rich or Die Trying and Blueprint 2. And I realized maybe back home, or maybe in some of the cities, that maybe Blueprint 2 wasn't as big as Blueprint. But I'm telling you, everywhere else, it was the biggest album. The only thing came close was Get Rich or Die Trying.
Blueprint 2. Blueprint 2.
Oh my God. Blueprint 2.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Coming off the Blueprint, maybe it suffered from living up to the expectations
of the
Blueprint. But when Blueprint 2 came out, I don't even think Lav, who's probably the biggest Jay-Z fan I know, sat there and said, hey, this is a good album. It was mainly trash. It seemed as it's almost it was throwaways.
It was
like throwaways, like he was trying to.
It definitely wasn't trash. But
it wasn't.
It wasn't good. It wasn't. What was name one song off of Blueprint 2? Let me stop y'all Jay-Z fans. I'm sure y'all can. But
I can name everything off the Blueprint 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't count me because I'll dominate this thing.
But none of that shit resonated at all, bro. And here's the other piece why I would say
it had to resonate. Like he said, it had to resonate. It maybe didn't resonate with you.
I'm about to say
with most people. But here's the other piece. Here's the other piece
coming off of the if you as a Nas fan, it's around that same time. So that you got to understand your own biases as well.
Nas had a nice run. No, because I can admit, I thought Jay brought out the best of Nas.
He did.
Because he tried to take Nas out.
He did.
And Nas went blow for blow when all Nas had was Jungle and Horace and the Bravehearts. He ain't had nobody on his squad.
That's gonna be my next point.
Jay had Beanie. Myth Bleak was just okay. You know what I'm saying? He was just what did Nas say? We call Myth Bleak the point guard, the way he brings down the rock. You know what I'm saying? But Jay went blow to blow with some killers. I mean, Nas went blow to blow with some killers, dog. And when they went head to head, Nas won that battle, bro.
But wait.
This off the strength of Ether, Nas won that battle.
Let me make a quick point. about what you were just saying.
And everybody says that.
Not everybody. Let me make a quick point. Like you were just saying, Jay gave us a lot of artists. He again, his impact on the culture. He gave us Beans. He really gave us Rihanna.
He gave us Kwame. He gave us Kanye.
He gave us Kanye.
He gave us Rihanna.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So he not just based on him, he contributed to the culture by giving us quality, long-lasting artists that added to the culture. Nas never did that. Nas really didn't give it. He had AZ. He didn't really do nothing with AZ. He had Jungle, like you said, but he didn't really add to the culture by adding anybody to the culture.
Or Mega.
But see, hold on.
Dame did that too, but that was Jay.
But I think that I value the lone wolf in Nas. Just like right here, I'm the lone wolf. I'm normally the lone wolf in all these arguments. I am, right?
Okay.
So I appreciate that, right? You standing on your square when everybody else is against you. And I think what difference between me and you brothers, respectfully, because I respect all three of y'all immensely, I can admit when Nas ain't at his best. I think my point what I was trying to make when I said Jay brought out the best, when he came out with Stillmatic, and then he followed it up with Godson, those were hard. You know what I'm saying? Stillmatic classic. I say Godson's a classic. I could see if people didn't believe so, but I think if you call the Black Album classic, which I do, you got to give Godson's classic. But Nas also had Nostradamus. I was not feeling Nostradamus. He had Hip Hop Was Dead. I wasn't feeling Hip Hop Was Dead. He had what was the album?
He had Nigga. The album called Nigga.
That was it's called Untitled. It was called Untitled. We don't use the N-word on the show.
I'm sorry.
So he had Untitled. That wasn't good. Then he came out with the one. I don't even count the Untitled album because that was garbage. And then, but he came out with I can't remember. It was another one that was mediocre. It had some cuts on it, but it was mediocre. Then he came out with Life Is Good. I thought Life Is Good was a damn good album. I personally thought it was a damn good album. Then he went on his run with Hit Boy. The problem here with a lot of you Jay fans is y'all want to act like In My Lifetime Volume 1, 2, and 3 didn't happen, and how those were just had like one or two songs.
Volume 2
was mainly trash.
Volume 2
was mainly garbage.
Volume 2 was legit. Listen to it again right now. Straight up.
Okay.
I think in my lifetime, Volume 3 wasn't all that. If I remember correct, that really wasn't all that.
Volume 1 and Volume 3 wasn't all that at all.
But see, listen to this.
See how y'all want to admit that though. Y'all got quiet.
No.
But I can admit that.
You're bringing up Nas in the contemporary, like right now, and the whole hip hop landscape is totally different. So it's something to be said about somebody who excelled and was at the top of their game when everybody else that was a contemporary was at the top of the game, and they still was clearly outshining everybody else. Now, when you want people of our age, we do like more lyrical content than the younger people, so that is going to stand out 100% more than anybody else nowadays. So you have to factor that in as well. When that was the kind of music, where was he? He was dropping these dud albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
facts.
But let's not act like he didn't have 4 that was like bangers. So
yeah, but Jay got like,
but Jay was dropping duds too.
No, he never dropped the dud. He never dropped the dud.
There's only two.
Okay, I'm gonna sit here and say Jay-Z never dropped the dud album.
There's only Jay has 3 duds. He has the Dynasty. He has the Best of Both Worlds 1 and Unfinished Business, which is Best of Both Worlds 2 with R. Kelly.
I don't even count the Dynasty. The one I would.
Now you try to put him on R. Kelly. Come on, Brian. Come on.
What's the one?
I'm saying that they were terrible albums.
What's the one with
what Watch the Throne?
30's the new 40's new 30. What's the name of that album?
444?
No.
Overrated.
What's it called?
No, that was just garbage.
Yeah, that one was trash. That was his worst album.
Which one?
444.
Nah,
444 was an apology to Beyonce. That wasn't.
Yeah. I mean,
that was a garbage album.
But check it out though. When 444 was out, Y'all saying that now, but when it was out, y'all was like, oh man, OJ's the new black. Come on,
I
y'all.
guarantee,
No,
I guarantee
I
you.
never
Y'all gotta,
understood.
if we
You
gonna
can't
do this, y'all
never
gotta
find-
be honest, bro.
You
I
can't
certainly-
I'll be
find
honest with you.
nowhere ever where I said
wasn't.
444 was a classic album. Never.
I've never heard anybody.
I'm not gonna lie
I've
to
never
you.
heard anyone say that.
I was
ever.
quiet. I was quiet because and people that asked me, I was like, nah, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't really feeling the J because I couldn't, as the Jay-Z fan I am, I wasn't gonna go out and be like, oh, this is trash, this is trash. But if you asked me, I would have told you, yeah, it's not, I'm not really feeling it.
Kingdom Come was trash.
Kingdom Come, that's the one. That's a dud, straight up.
Kingdom Come was trash.
Kingdom Come
Kingdom
was
Come maybe had 2 songs on it, maybe 2, maybe 2.
Blueprint 3 wasn't great.
Trash.
It wasn't trash, but it was
Yeah,
not great.
I mean,
Trash.
nah.
It was not
Okay,
trash. Okay,
so
wait.
so translation to everybody listening. When they call Nas a dud, they'll say, "Oh, it wasn't great."
No, it's not that.
No,
It's
because
not-
he's still,
for-
again, when you
No.
talk about greatness, you have to also, I have to look past what I personally like and look at how it impacted everything.
right.
And certain songs on those albums still made a major impact. And
Right,
you
like-
can't, I mean, seriously, there's probably a 10-year stretch, 11, 12-year stretch where Nas had nothing impactful to say.
Nothing. And that, you know what I want to, I write it, what I chalk it up to?
Oh,
Them
Magna
years
Carta,
ago.
Magna Carta, Holy Grail.
Come on now. What are you about to say? Don't
That was
blaspheme.
good. Are you saying
I
that's
thought
good?
it was a good album, yeah.
Are you insane? The album with Kanye?
Okay, that was Watch the Throne.
No, that was Watch the Throne.
Watch the Throne was a
Watch the Throne. Now, Watch the Throne was good.
Oh, Watch the Throne. I'm sorry. I'm thinking
Watch
of
the Throne was good.
Magna Carta Holy Grail was basic. You're right.
I'm
And that's
sorry.
the one he
So
released.
when we
Second
so when we
release
start
exclusively
so when we
on
start lining
Google
up
Play.
the number of duds,
Still not.
blow
It's
for
still
blow,
less. It's still
Jay
less.
got just as many as Nas.
Still less album.
If
has
Nas
nothing-
They got
ever
just
had,
as
if
many as
Nas
Nas.
had, if Nas had one album besides Illmatic that was impactful, seriously, to the culture as a whole,
He did.
seriously,
He did.
I-
Stillmatic wasn't impactful.
to hip hop has that love, that kind of hip hop, but the overall hip hop culture is more than just lyrics.
So basically, if white folks embrace it,
I wanted
No,
to say still
it's not. It's not even about that. It's not even about that. Again, it wasn't getting played
What
on
makes
no
it- what-
black
so-
radio. It wasn't getting
so,
played on
okay.
black radio stations.
is it women? Okay, so here's
No,
here's,
it
here's
wasn't
what it
getting
is.
played
Here's
on
what
your black radio
here's what I think it
stations.
is. Here's what
All
I
right,
think
what's
it
the
is.
question? What is it?
Somebody made this comparison, and I looked up album sales, and I think Jay worldwide, and I don't know how true these numbers are. I think Jay worldwide over his career has 23 million records sold, right? Give or take 23 million. Nas has 20 million. Okay. So we give Jay the nod when it comes to album sold, but he did a lot of, that includes a lot of stuff he did with his wife, and other compilations and stuff like that. But he gets the nod, right? Because Nas had some compilations. He had the album he put out with Junior Gone Marley. I thought that was dope.
They probably counting the Firm in there too.
The Firm, maybe the Firm, and then so that was it. Somebody made the comparison is Drake, and I'm not calling Jay-Z Drake. I'm not. Is Drake a better artist than Kendrick?
No,
And this leads into the discussion how I want to.
What do you mean by artist?
no.
I'm going there. I'm gonna finish. Is Drake a bigger artist than Kendrick? And somebody said it. I think they answered the question in a good way. If you go by the numbers and the number of bangers he has, the listens that he has on Spotify, right, versus Kendrick, there's no question. Drake is the bigger artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if it comes to the art and the impact on the culture, we talk about the culture, it's no doubt it's Kendrick. Can we agree upon that?
I agree 100%.
So then that's the argument I make when we say Nas versus Jay. Now, I do not put Jay on a Drake level. I don't. But I'm saying it's the same. The artistry that Nas has, his ability to flow over whatever beat and to still put out quality music, hey, he's there, man. And in my personal opinion, that makes him the GOAT. Now,
But
a young brother that's coming up close, and this is the question I want to ask y'all. How do we rank the younger brothers? How do we rank the J. Cole's and the Kendrick Lamar's versus the OG? I'll call them the OGs because I guess we the OGs now, right?
yeah,
Nas, Jay-Z, Rakim Allah. How do you rank them? Or do you say no, for this era, it's Nas and Jay, and then of this era, we got Cole, Drake, Kendrick. How do y'all approach it?
Before we answer,
I'll wait till you guys are done.
I'm sorry. Before we answer that question, can I correct something? You said something about album sales. I just double checked it. So Nas has sold 15 million.
How many?
15.
15. Okay.
Jay has sold 141.
Yeah, that number had to be wrong. I wasn't gonna say.
But I heard I was.
Well, like, I mean, I just did a quick Google search. I
had to check because that is one of the problems with Nas was that his influence didn't go beyond the mic, didn't go beyond your ears, didn't go to the four pillars of hip hop. That was a concern. Now I just want to segue that into the question you just asked because we have to ask ourselves with these new young guys. You talk about J. Cole, you talk about Kendrick. You know, what is their influence now? Personally, I think that if you got to throw Drake in there, I don't like Drake at all, but his impact on hip hop is simply unquestionable compared to those other guys. The only person I think can maybe come close, maybe will be Kendrick with a little bit more time, but I just don't think I think he's going to be the Jay-Z to Nas. I think that Kendrick's going to be like more the Nas guy. And unfortunately, Drake is going to be more like the Jay-Z, but with a lot less melanin.
I honestly, man, Joe knows this. I call Kendrick GOAT Kendrick.
Yeah.
Just because he's put out,
yeah,
I'm gonna say three albums that are just like I consider like classic. You know what I mean? Or damn near close.
No arguments.
Here's my thing with Kendrick. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna bring you in, Joe. Just let me finish this one. So I put Kendrick up there to me. Like he's the guy that I would say is with the Nas and the Jay-Z's. Okay. I think a better comparison to what you're saying, Sean, is Cole, J. Cole. Because a consistent knock on him is his beat selection, because he for the most part, he's doing his own beats, right? He's bringing in some producers, but like he's not bringing a lot of feature artists or anything like that. And I really like the material that brother's putting out, man. Like he's more reminiscent of what y'all saying about Nas. I would put that more on Cole than I would Kendrick, because you can't really say Kendrick don't have beats, because hell, he been with Dre. So you can't say he had some fire beats. He had the best producers, arguably the best producers ever. So that's the only caveat that I would put to that. Joe, go ahead, bro.
But Kendrick, I would say that he, first of all, if you're gonna, you can't put him in the GOAT category. Just the GOAT overall, he's definitely not there yet. No. But if you break it down into this new generation of artists, Kendrick just wipes everybody. And I love J. Cole, but Kendrick just wipes everybody. This last one you just put out was ridiculous, man. That was ridiculous. Kendrick in a whole different lane. I understand you calling him the GOAT, because he's in a whole different lane for these new artists, completely different. But again, you got decades of these guys doing stuff, so you can't put him in the GOAT category with somebody that's been doing it for decades and consistently been doing it for decades. You can't do that.
Right.
Yeah,
but let's say if Nas keeps this up with Hit Boy, right, and it don't look like they're gonna stop. It don't look like they're gonna, because Nas got rhymes for days, and look like that boy Hit Boy got rhymes for days. Not call my boy that man Hit Boy. He got rhymes, beats for days.
Yeah.
Nas is going to consistently be putting out quality material, right? So, and hopefully that brother lives a long life.
Yeah.
He does.
Live, after you chime in, I want to say something about that.
Can Kendrick and Cole, can they catch up to him, or do we need to separate the generations? Do we need to say, okay,
Mhm.
this is the class of this is the class of 88 to 98 or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And then we
Yeah.
say class from 2008 on forward. How, I don't know,
Yeah.
how we're gonna break down the years, but is that the better way we should break it down to class?
That's probably the only way we can do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's again, I like hip hop, I love sports. It's an analogy. Rules change. The 3-point line ain't the same place it was in 94. Seriously, they didn't have the lane was different in 1957, so rules change. So you kind of have to segment on, like, there's not an even playing field. Rules are different, times are different, the way we consume music is different. So some of these guys are never going to be able to get 120 million records sold, no matter how good they are. It's just not possible to do. So if you're factoring record sales into
streams now, it's based
right. So and whole records don't get, because people piecemeal it song by song or whatever. So you don't have to buy the entire album. I mean, I think it was something to be said for on some of these albums too. I missed the skits, right? Because it kind of gave you a little more insight into their thinking and their cleverness, how they work things and stuff like that. I miss that, where guys don't have to necessarily do that now. But
okay, I know Sean want to come in, but you know what I miss, bro? I miss the album liners.
Yeah, that too, man. I was reading
every sample, every musician. I know where Def Jam Studios, the address. I read all of that, man.
Yeah.
I missed that. Go ahead, Sean. Come on in, bro.
I just wanted to co-sign. Comparing these guys, I like the concept of having like a shifting window. Because comparing something like a J. Cole to like a Jay-Z, it's almost like trying to compare Michael Jackson to Chris Brown. I mean, I don't want to disparage Chris Brown, because to my daughter, her generation, besides the whole fact he likes to beat women, let's be clear about that. That's a problem. Because people suddenly have forgotten that last week when he didn't go on the AMAs because he wasn't allowed to perform. That's because he put hands on Rihanna. I don't know why people are forgetting about that. But putting that aside,
I mean, but she allegedly she done forgave him, right? And
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I mean, but we that might be a discussion for. I don't condone beating women.
All right,
I got 3 daughters. But I will say people can make mistakes and they do have the right to be able to bounce back.
Sure. We can forgive, but we don't have to forget. I got 2 daughters too, so I hear you. What I'm saying is comparing them as apples and oranges, just like we're saying. Because Michael Jackson, obviously he had some allegations of things that weren't exactly on the up and up. Would I have let my son stay at Michael Jackson's house? Hell no. I would have stayed there, but I would not have let my son stay there.
He's at Nat. Flavor to your function. DD's daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Flavor to your function. DD's daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink. Wanna kick back, wanna just vibe. Wanna kick back. Let me first slide to the drink store. Let me just buy DD drink mixes, all of them fire. Fill me up a case, I'm finna drop bread. Marvelous mango, classic and red. Took them to the party, these folks won't leave me alone. They wanting me to share, they better get their own. DD's at Nat.
But anyway, I think the way that you did that comparison makes a lot of sense. You have to have a shifting window. So that is pretty fair. And I think it's necessary because if not, you are going to continue to do, like you said, sports and hip hop, comparing apples and oranges. That's all I want to bring up.
And this is a caveat because we're talking about hip hop, but there's always this comparison that people have been making recently of who's a bigger pop artist between Beyonce and Michael Joseph Jackson, and they always give the nod to Beyonce, but I would say they do. Like this current
impossible
folks currently they will say Beyonce is a bigger pop artist than Michael Jackson, it just blows my mind because number one, I don't dislike Beyonce, but I'm not like a huge fan of hers. I'm not going to the concerts or anything like that.
Is that because she's married to Jay-Z?
Even though, nah.
Oh,
Okay. So this is what I liken it to. Well, let me finish my train of thought. I don't know if I know Beyonce is global, but I know Michael Jackson had white girls in Czechoslovakia falling out, fainting, right? And all he did was stand on the stage. And this was before the internet.
Yes.
This is before we had cell phones. And he was doing this. I saw a picture where he was standing on top of a record store, and all you could see was people for miles standing there to see him. And that was all through word of mouth and the radio. People don't even listen to the radio anymore. You know what I'm saying? So there's really no comparison. But to your point, Lav, now I understand how, like, I'm a big LeBron fan. Well, I mean, he kind of made a questionable move with how he did Kyrie lately, but I'm gonna still rock with LeBron. I didn't like what he did to Kyrie, but I'm still rock with him.
I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. Kyrie totally asked for it.
I understand now how people
Kyrie asked for it.
I understand.
Serial line stepper.
Hold on a second. I understand how people feel when they say, I can't hate on his skills. I don't like him as a player. I love what he does off the court. That's exactly how I feel about Jay. I love what he does. I love what he does for the community. I love what his wife does for the community, right? Yeah. He's ultra talented. Yeah. But when it comes to just like, his artistry versus my type of artistry that I like, he falls short. That's all I gotta say.
Hey, I understand that. And that's another thing I was gonna say too is, it's almost like Nas or cats. I'm not trying to go at Nas specifically, but if you never attain that certain level of success, then you don't have that burden of success, right? So Jay said, truthfully, I want to rhyme like common sense, but I did 5 mil. I ain't been rapping like common sense.
Common sense, exactly.
And then he said, and I can't help the poor if I'm one of them. Not saying Nas is poor, or anything like that, but the money that he was able to acquire by having that commercial and crossover global appeal has let him do the things that we talk about in social justice reform and things like that. So, it's deeper than just, how the style we like to listen to.
Yeah, let's think about.
I want to make one point real quick. There's another point I want to make. It's just not just the record sales and the songs he put out and all that, because Nas put out some dope songs. It's just, like I said, the whole impact that Jay has on the whole hip hop community. And he shows love to everybody. Like, literally, he signed Nas $3 million up front, paid for his budget for 2 albums.
Yeah.
That's just showing love. That if that don't make you the GOAT, that you signing a person and giving them all that money and paying for his budget, and this the guy that everybody compare you to, if that don't say you the GOAT, I don't know what does.
I don't think that makes him the GOAT.
It don't make him the GOAT, but I
definitely think that makes him a dope man, and I won't take that away from him.
Right, it makes him part of that is part of the whole thing that makes him the GOAT, though. That's part of the whole thing. They give back to the community. He gives back to the culture. He gives back to everything, and then he's still putting out dope music. That's what makes him the GOAT, in my opinion.
I agree. And also, let's look at what these people are arguing about these days. Jay is trying to make sure that he gets paid from his that liquor sale. Was it Douce? What is the name of that thing?
Douce, yeah.
Douce.
He's walking away from it. He's in the court right now because he feels that this liquor company is really taking advantage of him in his name, and it's not the first time he did it. Remember, he did the same thing with Cristal.
Yeah. Armadale
vodka too, I think. Went to Armadale, then he went to Ace of Spades, and he went. So he's been on this for a level. So he's thinking, how can I be able to increase the billions that I'm dealing with? Nas is
but don't Jay own? Does he not own Douce? Or he?
Well, that's the problem. The problem is he was right. It was supposed to be a 50-50 partnership, and I forgot, was it LVMH? Whoever it was, the other company that's behind it, try to sell it, undervalue Jay's ownership to undervalue how much he should be paid if
he
it's
should get
sold.
paid.
And that's why Jay is bugging out because no. I'm not some guy you're just giving a glass of liquor to. Like, I'm the reason why you're here. I have a track record of doing this with liquor alone. So that's the conversation Jay's having right now. The conversation.
Train of thought. Don't lose your train of thought, please.
Sure.
That puts into perspective what I saw this morning when
Uh,
Puff was talking about his Ciroc cognac. Because the first thing I thought about, I was like, well, damn, Jay got Douce. Why y'all, there's plenty of liquors that y'all, but why are y'all deciding to compete right in that brand when Puff, you already got the vodka lane? Why are you going into the cognac lane? So now that kind of makes sense. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's good. I'm glad I didn't know that. I'm glad you brought that up.
And Jay had said about on the last album, he's like, I'll be damned if I buy another vodka while Puff owns Ciroc, or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
he gave Puff that big assist. So I agree. I'm a little confused by that as well. But it is what it is. I went to school with Puff, so I could say a few things, but I'm not going to. But what I was trying to say is Jay's in the middle of that. At the same time, Nas is arguing about the fact that MC Search sold his catalog recently. He's like, well, I'm trying to get chips from it. Also, the big controversy between him and Pete Rock right now on not paying him his royalties. Nas is down here, bro, when it comes to arguing about these little basic things in hip hop. He's getting into argument with Doja Cat. He's in an argument right now with what is it? What was some NBA young boy? Is that the guy who said he was irrelevant? Who was it?
21 Savage.
Oh, even worse. 20.
He ain't even from the U.S. Yeah.
Oh, please, he isn't. He's from Britain, trying to front Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not start about who's from where.
But we talk about the liquor and we talk about the other stuff. I'm for one, we having this conversation. We all have our preferences, but I'll tell you what I really do love is the fact that we've seen these black men grow.
Yeah.
And expand beyond what they were in 93. You know what I'm saying? Beyond 95. And when we go out to LA, you go to Nas got a restaurant. He was big into the crypto thing. I don't know what's going on with that now, but I like seeing these brothers expand, and that's all really I want to see for the younger cats. As we talk about the Kendricks and we talk about the J. Coles, I want to see how they progress as men. I want to see how they develop, how they grow. And they definitely have potential to be GOAT status at some point if they continue to do that and expand their reach. And I'm loving it right now. I want to see who they become. I really do.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would say to the point that you made, Sean, is 21 Savage took a shot at Nas, but NBA YoungBoy he just took a shot at Jay. So that kind of speaks to the respect these young cats have to the architects and the lack thereof. Which I find is a travesty that 21 be going at Nas and NBA be going at Jay. 21 tried to walk it back though. NBA was just like, nah, I could rap better.
I'm a double down,
rap better than Jay-Z. And the only reason I know 21, but I know a lot of these cats because I got a 20-year-old son.
Yeah.
So
I listen to 21 Savage, man.
So I know these cats. And we can't sit there and talk about Nas beefing with Pete Rock without talking about, what Dame says about Jay. So let's not try to act like Jay is just above reproach with all his business dealings. Mr. NFL. Mr. NFL. So,
that NFL thing is a whole different thing. We'll talk about that later. But Jay's not above reproach. That whole thing with Dame, that was business, and it got real ugly.
Yeah.
And it just kind of split the whole rock.
Yeah.
And
even
Kanye said, somebody asked Kanye, do you feel like you dogged out or were disloyal to Dame? And he just straight up said yes. But it was business. It was all business. But they were both making moves.
Dame the one that gave him his shot.
Huh? Dame the one that gave him. That's why I said that.
Jazzo.
Jazzo, yeah.
Emil, what he did to Emil was foul.
Yeah.
What he did to state property was foul. Well, actually, that's not true.
That's not true.
Beans did that to himself.
Beans did that to himself. That wasn't true about state
property. I'm sorry, you're right. Beans did that to himself.
Hey,
yeah.
Quiet as kept. State property 1 and 2. were actually two dope movies and two dope ass soundtracks.
Yeah.
Beans and the State Property Crew, they put out some dope music, man.
I didn't see the movies. I love State Property. Oh my
State
god.
Property.
Yeah, I did too. I love
you talk about Beans. We
No,
talk
wait. Freeway.
Freeway. We talk about Freeway. Oskino and Sparks. PD.
Don't get all PD.
Yeah, PD.
PD Crack.
PD Crack. Hey,
Hey,
State Prop put out some music, dog.
They was that business. I have to admit. I was listening the other
and
day.
that's another reason I like Jay so much because he put Philly on. He put Philly on hard time, like big time. Man.
He definitely respected Philly. Philly was already on. I got to give Philly credit. Philly was already on.
Yeah.
For many. But what he did is he allowed State Property to have their own lane.
Yep.
And I think they needed to do that because Beans was so heavy.
Yeah.
I was listening to some of his freestyles the other day. I was like, damn, Beans got in his own way, man. He was a joke. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Beans was ridiculous, man. I love some Beans.
And as good as Beans was, I personally feel Freeway was better.
Freeway was tight, yo. Freeway was tight, man. Freeway was tight.
I would say they was on par with one another.
Yeah.
I would say
I'll say that. But Freeway, some of his metaphors and his bars,
man.
Oh my God.
You know what? Mark, I think I told Mark this story. I got to argue about Freeway's album being better than 50 Cent when it first came out. That's how much I was feeling. That's how much I was feeling Freeway. I had to walk back after a minute. But
it was.
When it first came out, I was like, yo, Freeway, he better than 50 Cent.
The only reason why I can't go there is because y'all talk about beats. 50 had Dre.
That's right.
He had the beat.
That's really what the problem was.
He
had the beat. Yeah.
He had the beats.
Yeah, but Freeway's a beast, man. He was a beast.
Freeway was a spit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you though, Skinner with Sparks, PD Crack.
Yeah.
Dudes, Joe.
All of them.
The whole crew was tight.
All of them. They were all of them, man.
I'm gonna tell you what. Then we're gonna wrap it up. They was way better than the Diplomats, and I like them.
Oh hell yeah!
Them Harlem.
The Diplomats were a joke to me.
Hey,
they were a joke for Harlem. They were a joke in Harlem.
They were a joke.
Hey, but Cam, I like Cam. Though.
I like Cam was a funny dude, man.
Cam was a funny dude.
Good.
But the world saw how overrated they were when the lock. Wait, not the lock.
Not the lock.
When Jadakins by himself undressed the entire crew.
Yeah.
When he made Cameron forget his own lyrics because he was beating his ass so bad, that should tell you how bad the Diplomats were.
Yeah.
Hey, well, listen, brothers, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. I know we can flow forever, man.
Because we didn't even bring up Andre 3000.
This is the first. Would you say Andre 3000? Oh, we
didn't bring up Bun.
Listen, who?
Bun.
Big Pun.
Oh, I thought you said Bun.
Big Pun.
Bun B.
Yeah.
Oh, Bun B. Oh.
I thought you was
Big Pun though too though. Big Pun.
Yeah, definitely Big Pun.
See, bro, we're gonna have to expand. So really, this conversation is more about King of New York, right? It was more of a King of New York discussion. But if we talk about like, we ain't even brought in Brad Jordan, Scarface.
Scarface.
We haven't brought in Ice Cube.
Nope.
We brought in Cube.
Common. You said Common.
He's out. Yeah. Okay. We ain't brought in Reggie Noble, Redman.
Oh, Redman.
Jersey.
And while you playing, I love the Woo, but my favorite dude out the Woo, I mean, in terms of like consistent albums, because like the best out of the Woo was the Jizza. You know, he's the one, right? But consistently out of all of them, you got to go with Tony Stark's Ghostface. He's up there.
Ghostface. Yep.
In all candor, my Mount Rushmore number one to me is actually Tony Stark's, because every time Ghostface picked up a microphone, he rhymed like his life depended on it. Yeah. Even if it didn't make sense, he rhymed like he was going to die if he didn't get these bars. That's why I love it.
Murdered that joint.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you enough about Tony Starks and them is they had me out here wearing wallabies in the Midwest, dog.
The wallabies. Yeah, Clarks. No, Impact. Yeah, for sure. But anyway, man, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. Mantalk Monday. Brother Joe out of Philly. I appreciate you, my brother. Much respect.
Much respect.
My frat brother, old head. Much respect, my brother. My player son, Lav, Man Listen Show. Much respect, my brother. Make sure y'all follow us on Instagram, conversate with us. Follow us on YouTube, leave a comment. Who's the GOAT? Am I tripping by riding for Nas? Or are they tripping by saying Jay-Z is the GOAT? Let us know. Y'all think Kendrick, J. Cole, Drake? Y'all think Drake is up there? Leave us a comment. Let us know. We'll holler you next time. Peace.
Appreciate you, V.
Peace.